Hello creators, how are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators podcast episode, also streamed live at youtube.com/video creators every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you guys. We've got an actual question from one of you. Now, if you're not already familiar with it, when you become a channel member on my channel, there's one of the perks that you get at the collab tier, I think is what it's currently called, is you can send audio questions into me, and you get to tell me what roadblocks you're working through and what challenges you're facing and what types of opportunities you're trying to figure out how to manage and all that through your YouTube channel. And about once a month or so, I will take a few of those and answer some of them here in this episode. That's what we're going to do today, but we're gonna focus our attention on one, because there's a lot of questions that revolve around this one question, which is like, how do you stand out from the crowd? How do you rank #1 in search? How do you grow this channel when you're just starting out? And it's a pretty big topic right there. There's a lot to dive into, and we're going to do that here today. So if you want to join us in the future and submit a little audio clip of your question, it's really simple to do. You click the join button below this video, this live stream, or if you're listening to the podcast, there's a link in the show notes. You can become a channel member. I think it's at that $9.99 a month tier. And then so it's a really easy thing. You just get a link. You just tap on it on your phone, and you can record it straight from your mobile device. No app to download or anything. I'm pretty sure anyway. I don't think you need to download an app, or right on your desktop or whatever, and just record it, and it comes straight to me. So we're going to do that here today. If you have questions, if you're here live, you have questions as we go through this, then feel free to drop those in the chat, and Laura, my producer, will get them in front of me as they relate to our topic here, and we'll do our best to not just talk about this, but actually help you guys out with where you're at on this issue of growing a channel, getting more views, more subscribers, making more money, ranking #1, and trying to stand out from all of the competition. So if you are a channel member already, thank you. It's great to have you. I know we already have some of them here in the chat. I see Dear Julie, and we have ifunchris.com, and a few other people here all in the chat. So thank you guys, or members. I really appreciate you guys. Here is the question that was submitted that we're going to dive into here today.
Hi team, I want to know how to start a PUBG channel and how to stand out from the crowd and the competition. Even though I have 0 subscribers, I want to know how to rank #1 on YouTube search.
Yeah, how to rank #1 in YouTube search, and how do you stand out from the crowd and the competition? Whew. So you guys have heard me say a lot of this before, I think, if you've been around for a while, but I want to talk about it from this context. And I think maybe you'll understand by the end of this that this is like, there's a process here that you can go through that you've probably heard me explain before, but that hopefully we'll talk about it in this context. Some of these things will stand out to you a little bit more in terms of how do you grow, how do you get an audience, how do you get more subscribers, how do you get people to notice what you're all about, and really want to become a part of it and subscribe and want to watch future content from you in the future as you're doing it. So I think let's answer, there's two parts of this question. Let's answer it in two parts. #1 is, how do you stand out from the crowd? Now, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but I like to follow the principles that have been proven over time, that the same thing that grows a business, like how does a business stand out from all the other competition? Or how does a music artist stand out from all the other competition? How does a Instagram person, or how does like whoever, even if you're going through a job interview, how do you stand out in that job interview amongst all the other people who are applying for that position? And there's a lot of things that go into this, and they are all reproducible in all those contexts. The same things that make you stand out in those situations are the same things that make your YouTube channel stand out. Okay, and there are primarily 3 things. #1, people need to feel like this is for them, right? You need to make that. You need to know exactly who you're targeting, who is your most ideal subscriber to your channel, and what's their story, what's their struggles, what's their problem, what are the things they think about, what do they believe, what are they really trying to accomplish in life, like all that stuff. Really intimately know their story. And this is the first mistake when this will make you blend in all the time. If you are just trying to do like, oh, we do daily family vlogs, or oh, I do gaming videos, or I do makeup tutorials, or like whatever, or even music videos, it doesn't matter. If people kind of discover your content and then like, and they don't feel like it's for them, you're going to lose them. Like they're just going to click away, you're going to have poor audience retention, they're going to high abandonment, and you're just going to lose them. So it's really important that number one, you know exactly who you're going after, who this target audience is, you know their story intimately. And I would even suggest that instead of just kind of coming up with a general idea of like, oh, our family vlogs are for middle school kids who want to have a sense of adventure. Well, that's great. But make it even more specific. And I would say maybe go down like 3 levels even. Just like, hey, my channel isn't just about helping creators, but helping video creators. But not just video creators, but YouTube creators. And not just YouTube creators, but YouTube creators who have a mission or a passion behind what they're trying to do. Like that goes beyond making money and popularity, right? Like make it really specific so that when someone who is aligned with that in your audience, that is their story, they're like, oh, like, where have you been all my life? Like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And so you that's the best way to make them feel like this is for me, is have a very specific idea of who this person is. And then number 2, crafting content that's exactly for them. You can have the perfect vision of who this person is, this ideal subscriber. But then they're also asking like, oh, okay, so why should I subscribe to you? And I am sometimes, not anymore, but I used to be surprised when I'll sit down and do like a one-on-one consultation with a creator for an hour. Sometimes I'll ask them the question like, who's your most ideal subscriber? And they have a general idea, so we'll make that specific. But then I'm asking them, why, finish the sentence. Hey guys, you should subscribe to my channel because... And then I just kind of wait for them to fill in the blank. And it's kind of, unfortunately, often people are like, ooh, because, and I'm like, if you don't know why someone should subscribe to your channel, then they're definitely not gonna know, right? And you might assume that one person will subscribe for this thing and someone else will subscribe for that thing, and sometimes that happens, and in the long run that's really bad for your channel because you have all these different people subscribing for all these different reasons and you can't keep them all happy, so you're gonna have to do this thing to keep those people happy, but then if you do this other thing to keep the other people happy, then the other people are gonna unsubscribe because that's not what they're for. You need to tell them this is what you're here for. This is the value that you're going to get, and make it very clear for them. The thing that's going to hold your channel back the most, more than anything else, is any sense of confusion among your potential viewers about who you are and what you're all about. Why should I subscribe? What value am I going to get from watching you? That value could be an entertainment value. It could be an educational value. Either way, just make it clear who it's for and why they should care. And so the more specific your target audience, the more you're eliminating a lot of other competition, which makes you stand out from the crowd. And then when you tell people what they're going to get if they subscribe, then you're also eliminating a lot of competition, helping you stand out from the crowd, and you're creating a stronger brand. But here's where you're going to take it a step further. You're not just going to tell people what you do and what they're going to get if they subscribe, but you also need to tell them why it matters. And if you tell people why it matters, what impact this will have, what differences is going to make for you, you have some sort of creed or some sort of belief or mission behind it, that starts to get people to engage, not just intellectually where like, I understand what you're doing, but then people who share those beliefs with you, those values and that mission that you have, that passion, those people will start to become emotionally engaged with your brand and with your channel. And when that happens, you're going to start standing out from the crowd a lot more, because a lot of creators either one, don't tell people what they do, or if they do, it's just like, hey, I make daily vlogs, or subscribe because I do makeup or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you and thousands of other people, right? So when you tell them, add that belief, that creed to it, this is about mastering YouTube so that you can spread a message that reaches people and changes their lives, then there's more of an emotional connection and people will be more likely to gravitate towards that. Number 3 then, about how you stand out from the crowd, is you need to have certain elements in your content that make it easy for people to more deeply form that human connection with you. And these are, I'm just going to suffice it to say, read a book called Primal Branding. It's going to talk about all these things. In that book, he talks about What did all the top brands do to made it possible for them to develop this cult-like following? And it's all very reproducible stuff. It's all things that you're going to start noticing in the top YouTube channels you watch, the top celebrities and networks on television and radio shows and podcasts and things. Like, people like consuming content from them because they have these 7 things. And real quickly, it's 1, what is your creation story, which is where did you come from? That provides a lot of meaning and context for the brand. Number 2, they want to know, what's your creed? What do you believe? Why does this matter? What's the kind of the rallying cry that we're all kind of getting behind here? They also want to know, number 3, like, what are the icons? What are the visuals that represent what we're all about, this mission, this creed that we have? 4, they want to know, like, what are the sacred words? Like, what's the inside language that we use here when we talk about this brand? You know, when people ask me, hey, Tim, how you doing? And I say, better than I deserve. Like, people are like, oh, Dave Ramsey, right? It's like, yeah, you know, because anyone who's a part of Dave Ramsey's community knows that's something that he says. Or if it's like Starbucks, they have a very special language. When you go in there, they could have called it small, medium, and large, but they called it grande, venti, and I don't know. I tried coffee once and it tasted like burnt water. So I haven't trying to acquire that taste. And so when I go into Starbucks, I don't speak the language. I don't feel like I belong there, you know, because they intentionally change the language so that when you go in there, you feel like, I know how to order here. You feel like you belong there, right? So sacred words. Rituals are also really important. The rituals are just like the repeated interactions that people grow to love and expect with your brand. So at the end of every Dude Perfect video, there's a pound it noggin, see ya. If a PewDiePie, there's a brofist, or PewDiePie. There's you know, these things that whenever you watch them, it's like people have an affinity for them. They're like, oh, that's why, you know, there's that story I love hearing, or that thing that like kind of helps us connect as insiders. You need the non-believers, which are the people who don't believe what you believe. These are the people who are not like whoever. These are the people you are not, that you're not trying to become, and you're kind of positioning yourself not against them in an antagonistic way, but just kind of against them, like, that's not us, that's not what we're about. And, you know, and that makes your community stronger because now you're linking arms because you're standing against something often. And then finally, you need to know who the leader is, and that is just probably you as the creator or whoever is leading your brand and your company. That all 7 of those things, you should just read the book Primal Branding by Patrick Hanlon, and all those things is why some musicians will go double platinum and sell out concert venues, even though they're terrible musicians, and why some YouTube channels will blow up and get millions of subscribers, even though like the production value on the video is actually not that great. Or this is why the inferior product will outsell the superior product all day long. These are the things that really make your brand stand out from the crowd and make it easy for people to fall in love with what you're doing. Okay. Now the second part, you guys are asking great questions. I see them. Laura's putting them in front of me here. I'm going to dive into all of them here in a second that are about these things. So keep asking them, and we'll dive into all of them here in a second. Okay. But let's talk about now that you're standing out from the crowd, how do you actually do the second part of that question, which is in terms of ranking number 1. And my first question is, why do you want to rank number 1 in search? I am not anti-search by any means, but it is just one traffic source on YouTube. And I was even reading the chat prior to the live stream starting here, and I don't know if I can scroll all the way up to it, but some people were asking, hey, one person's like, hey, I'm trying really hard. I'm using all these different paid tools I can use to do this keyword research and find out the search volume and the competition and find the opportunities where there isn't as much competition. I'm making videos to fit into those holes so that, you know, my videos are found and ranking number 1, but they're like, I'm just not ranking though. It's not working. That is a very common experience when you are following that tactic, which is a keyword-driven tactic and a strategy. And I'm not saying keywords don't matter, because they do, but it's not because the YouTube algorithms and robots love them. It's because people use language and they just expect to see certain words associated with certain values, certain like words represent things. And so if you're wanting to consume something about how to unclog your toilet, you're going to you're just looking and expecting to see the words clogged toilet. But it could also be like a stuffed up toilet, or the potty won't drain. Like all of those are different keywords, but YouTube will figure out what you're looking for and surface videos that are relevant for that, even if it's not an exact keyword match. And I give you plenty of examples. Some quick ones are if you search YouTube for, top music videos, you'll get Billboard Top 100, right? It's like not really keyword matching, but you can see how the YouTube, the search intent works. Or my daughter searched one day for, we were sitting in those coffee shops, and we have a thing with our kids, like you can watch YouTube, but when we're at work, you can only watch something that you're gonna learn something. It has to be educational. What do you want to learn right now? And she's like, well, I want to learn how to draw a kitty. And we're like, okay. So we type in how to draw a cat. And the number one result was how to draw a husky puppy. You're right? She's like, that's not a cat. That's literally a video about a dog. But the thumbnail really looked like a cute cat. And that's what my daughter wanted to click on. And so Google learned that, hey, if this is a relevant result, if we think that there's maybe they think that there's a certain age person in front of the computer and they're looking for this type of thing, and this would be a relevant result even though the keywords don't match. So I just kind of want to say I'm not anti-search, but there's homepage traffic, there's suggested traffic and related traffic, there's playlists, there's watch next, there's all these other different ways that you can get discovered on YouTube outside of search. And in my experience, search is the least valuable traffic source from an average view duration perspective. Not maybe overall traffic, but in terms of like where's your most valuable viewer coming from, they're often worth the least amount of watch time. And so other things like end screens and playlists are typically the most valuable traffic source. So I'm like, if that's where my most valuable traffic is coming from, like someone from search might give me a minute, 20 seconds on average, but someone from an end screen or a playlist will give me like 6 minutes on average. How do I blow up that traffic source, right? That's kind of how I think about it, okay? And so a couple of points, though, I do want to answer the question, though. One, this is kind of a hard question to answer because results today are so personalized on YouTube. And so when we say we want to rank number one, well, rankings are heavily based on a lot of different factors, and keywords is not one of the top ones. I mean, their keywords does make a difference, but they're also looking at things like, what's your viewing history? What videos do you tend to watch versus what type of videos do you tend not to watch? And how long do you watch this type of video versus that type of video? And what's your previous search history? Maybe let's say someone is searching for best online calendar system, right? And then they'll surface results for that. But then your next search is like inexpensive or free calendar systems. Well, now you're going to get maybe a different set of results than you would have if you had started with that, because YouTube just took the context of your previous search history query into consideration. And so it's a lot more complicated. Your preferences and a lot of things kind of go into this. So just because a video ranks number one for you doesn't mean that video ranks number one for anyone else. And even if it is ranking number one for everyone, that doesn't mean people are actually going to click and watch it. I mean, I just talked to a couple a few days ago, speaking out at an event in Utah, and they said, hey, we are ranking number one for a lot of different things. And we are getting very little traffic from it. Why? What is going on? And they had good search volume. They were number one, but they were there only for they would get there pretty quickly when their video was first published. But then after a little while, it would go away because no one was clicking and watching. Right. So it's kind of like going after search is okay, but it's not driven by keywords. And so the way to really think about this, and I'll walk you guys through a few different things, kind of like a process here, and how you can make your videos perform better, but not just on search. These are general enough that they're going to help you with search, but also with suggested and homepage and watch next and playlists and end screens and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So, and yes, keep your guys, I see you in the chat, keep your questions coming. We'll get into some of them here as it relates to the stuff in a second. So let's think about how we're going to position our video on YouTube to rank better. The thing that YouTube really wants to see, the thing they're really evaluating, is how well do people engage or interact with this content? What type of signals do we get from viewers when they are watching this video? Are they watching the whole thing and then clicking and watching more? Do they click the link in the description and leave YouTube and go to the affiliate or go to the website or whatever? Like, how does this video contribute to not just them watching this video, but how does it contribute to their overall viewing session? And how does it even contribute to if they're likely to come back tomorrow to YouTube or in 3 days to YouTube or not, right? There's a lot of different factors that go into this. So let's think through this from the viewer's perspective, because that is what Google's trying to do. They're trying to collect information about the viewer's experience with your content. And it doesn't actually start with the content. It starts with the title and the thumbnail, right? So even before they have even clicked on your video, you might have an amazing video, right? But if the title and thumbnail is weak, it doesn't matter because no one's going to watch it. So the title and thumbnail are both very, very important for getting the click. And the reason they're important is because a good title and a good thumbnail creates a question mark in the mind of the viewer. And the viewer is like, what happens next? Or what happens there? Or does it really work like that? Or like, no, that didn't happen. Like, there needs to be some sort of like, how does that work? And sometimes it can just be pretty utilitarian. It can just be like how to unclog your toilet. I'm not sure why I keep using that analogy. No, my toilets are fine, just in case you're wondering. But, all they want to know is like, yes, how do you do that? And that's what they want. There's a question mark that you're answering. But if it's just merely describing the content, like, mom goes fishing with daughter, it's like, okay, not too much of a question mark. I feel like I got the point of that video, right? And so just describing the video isn't going to help. And having a thumbnail that just merely shows what's happening isn't going to help either. It needs to be a title and thumbnail that makes the viewer think, what happens next? Or how does that happen? Or is that real? Or some sort of question mark. That's what's going to get them to click. And so what we're really saying is that the title and thumbnail sets an expectation for the viewer. If it doesn't set an expectation, you're going to have a hard time getting one to click, and you're going to especially have a hard time keeping their attention if they do click, because there's no expectation, there's no set. So the title and thumbnail set an expectation, and then so that video then needs to open with affirming for the viewer that yes, the expectation you clicked expecting to get in this content, that is coming in this video. And however you want to do that, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but you could like have a coming up on, or if it's a narrative, you could have it like cuts right before the climax and you go back and fill in the backstory, or you could just do a good job at really teasing the pain points and the problems that someone has that your video is going to solve for them. I think I did that a little bit here in this episode. I'm not sure. I think I opened that up a little bit by teasing that, but it has to be like a strong hook that the expectation is affirmed for the viewer that yes, this, what I clicked expecting to get is coming in this video. So then that's your hook, right? And then after that, you need to have really good audience retention. Like, you need to hold their attention through the whole content. And I know a lot of creators just assume that their videos are great because they put a lot of time and energy into them, but the data doesn't lie. Right? Like, if your videos aren't getting the momentum that you want, then there's probably something at one point or multiple points along this process we're talking through where something's breaking down. And so sometimes it's like you have a great title, great thumbnail, you set a really high expectation, and then you just gotta slowly over time don't deliver, and the audience loses their confidence that the value they click for is coming, and then they just slowly leave, right? And you just see that gradual downward slope in your audience retention graphs. So study those audience retention graphs. Learn how do I better hold someone's attention. Learn how to tell better stories. Storytelling is huge. You guys have heard me talking about this a lot, and I have entire episodes dedicated to just how do you tell a better story and that process that you go through. And we've broken it down to lots of methods and systems that you can reproduce and use on your next videos. So go back and listen to some of those podcast episodes, and we'll dive into more of that there. But you got to hold their attention till they get to the end of the video, where you're going to show them the end screen. Now, you're not just tacking on the end screen to the end of the video as if it's like, congratulations, you made it. Good for you, and see you later. And then you tack on these things. Like, no one's going to be there watching it anymore. Everyone's going to have left your video by then, and no one's still there watching to click and actually watch. So what you need to do is start showing those end screens before people leave your videos, while you're still delivering content. Those end screens come on. Now, that only gives you 5 to 10 seconds at the end of your video to give your pitch, your call to action, wrap up the story, and end that video. But if you end the video and then show the end screens, you're going to miss a lot of potential for people to click and watch another video. Now, there are some ways, and we've also had episodes about this, where you need to optimize those end screens, about how do you get more clicks, and how do you get, go from like what's average from what I found around 0.7 to 1% click-through rate on those things to what our clients are getting, which is around 30 to 40% click-through rate on those end screens. And that is huge for your channel. When you start having a channel that is of a library of content that's getting people to click, getting them into the video, setting on expectation, holding their attention, getting to the end of the video where they are then enticed to click and watch another video, and you start growing a library of content that's doing that, like your channel just blows up, right? Now, you get bonus points, though, if instead of sending them into another video, you actually send them into a playlist instead. And so, me, it looks like is, now that you guys have learned to do this, what you really need to learn is to do that. I put together a short playlist for you. You can see on your screen right here. Click on that playlist. We're really going to dive into the next step that's going to make this successful for you. So click, and I'll see you guys in that next video. Right, just doing something like that, getting them to a playlist where they can start watching a series of videos, and you're not putting all of your best videos in, all your videos in that playlist. It's just your best videos, it's just your top 3, 4, 6 short videos, or something where they can get into a viewing session and watch multiple videos of yours in a row. Okay, so coming back to what does it take to rank #1 in search and really just be discovered across all of YouTube's search and discovery systems, is that you have title and thumbnail that's set an expectation, that's affirmed in the opening seconds of the video, a video that then holds their attention to the end of the video, gets them to click and watch another one on YouTube. So it's really how much watch time do we get, how well can we hold someone's attention, and what does our viewing session look like when YouTube surfaces one of our videos. Because if YouTube starts learning that they start surfacing one of your video and they watch the whole thing and they get into another video after that and after that and after that, your video is going to get pushed to the surface a lot, right? And not just in search, and a lot of other search and discovery systems as well. So that is kind of like a quick synopsis for how this works. I know you guys have a lot of questions here. Let's start with questions from our members. So thank you guys who are members. I see there's a bunch of you here in the chat. Kara Colabella, Modern Day Tech, Civilian J Photography, Tech with Brett. Hey, good to see you, man. I got to see Tech with Brett. Tech with Brett was wearing my shirt. At not my personal shirt, but Video Creators was awesome. Brett, I was thinking I should have gotten a picture of that with you last week when I was out in Utah, but I didn't think of it at the time. I was just distracted with my family, so I'm sorry about that, but that would have been fun. David Jackson's here. Creating family moments. Lots of members. Let me get to some of yours first here. Cardiff is a member of the channel. Asks, how do you implement more of your personality into your videos? I make tutorial videos and I find it hard how to do that, I guess. So I think it could be a couple things. I mean, this is kind of a little off topic, but it's how do how comfortable do you feel on camera? When you talk to that camera lens, do you feel like you're talking to a person, or do you feel like you're talking to a fire hydrant? That makes a difference. But I think practice makes a big difference. And then 2, not everyone has like a super outgoing, bubbly personality, and that's okay. In fact, most, I was just talking this morning with a guy, Evan Carmichael on YouTube. He's got 2 million subscribers. And one of the things he said is, he's like, Tim, I am an extreme introvert. I love just being holed up. He's like, I can turn it on when I need to, but I would much prefer to be just kind of by myself. And I have found that's true about most successful YouTube creators, that when I'm at these events, it's just a whole bunch of awkward introverted people getting together and talking and having meaningful conversation because they're introverted, they're into that kind of thing. But there's sometimes a reason why they feel more comfortable talking to a camera than they do to a person, and I think that's okay. Okay, Planet Funhouse. How can I narrow down my niche? I would do it just by, like I mentioned, like here's who I'm going after. Then how do you make that 3 times more specific? Well, it's not just these people, but it's people who this and people who that, or have this problem, or believe this thing, or struggling with that, or just getting started, or whatever. Like make it very specific. And the goal here is to understand their story so that when they find you, they feel like you are talking exactly to them. Living tiny with the bushes. Is it okay to have multiple themes when they all tie together, like a tiny house and marriage and debt and freedom? Yes, you can have multiple things. This is very important. Glad you brought this up. Where it's not just about like the niche in terms of the topic, but it could be a niche in terms of a belief or a creed. So it sounds to me like, and I'm making this up just based on what I'm seeing here, where you're saying that you have a tiny house and marriage and debt and freedom. Those are all important to you. So to me, that sounds like the thread that ties all that together is probably freedom. Like being debt free, living in a tiny house. I'm guessing it's mobile, so maybe you guys like to go around. And so all those things, you can do all of those different things. Is the goal is for it to be clear to the audience of, if I subscribe here, what am I going to get? And it's something that they all care about. That this target audience, that everyone in that target audience cares about this one thing. Now, in this case, not everyone in your audience, if it was just a tiny house channel, you start talking about marriage, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? I'm here for the tiny house. Or if it's a marriage channel and you start talking about financial freedom, they can be like, what are you talking about? I'm just here for relationship stuff. I'll stop talking about money. But if you say, hey, we are about experiencing freedom in every area of our lives, and then you talk about a tiny house, and then you talk about marriage, and then you talk about financial budgeting, but like then it makes sense to people, and you're not going to lose your subscribership because they're confused, being like, what is going on here, right? So you can have a creed or a belief that ties everything together. The goal is just to communicate it, make it clear so that people can quickly pick up on what that is. Tabby's Universe. How do you change your niche on YouTube? It seems impossible once you have a set niche to get out of it even after it's died. No, I would just make your hard left turn and go for it. You know, I don't think there's anything too difficult about it. Yeah, especially if it's already, that old one's already died, like you said, I would just go for it. Just maybe make one video communicating, hey, we're going this direction now. This is what we're all about, and this is what we want to do, and communicate it. But then, but then just go ahead and do it. So my wife is actually getting ready to do this. We don't yet know if we're gonna do it on our family's channel, we're gonna resurrect her old channel. But I told you guys in a previous episode how we've gone through this whole process for her. And I just shared with you guys I should be better prepared to know what my episodes are. Let me see if I can look it up while I talk. You can find all of this at videocreators.com/videos is where kind of everything goes, or videocreators.com/podcast. You can go look back at all of them. But one of the things I did with my wife is I walked her through this entire process. And then I shared all that with you guys, just read right through it. And so one of the things that we walked through was like, who is this target audience? What do they want? What's the value? What's the branding going to be? And now we're kind of decide, does it make sense to just kind of pivot the channel that we're already active on if we don't feel like we're going to really be making much more of that type of content anymore? We're going to lose a bunch of subscribers, which is fine, but there will be some people who are like, oh, I really love this. I want to stay on board with this new direction, and they'll stay with us. So, or is it better for us to kind of keep that channel open in case we want to do a video once in a while that's still like a normal family video and have my wife develop her own personal channel? I don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. And it kind of depends. Like if we're not going to do any more family videos, then I'm going to say that channel is much larger. Let's just take that one and pivot. But if we still think we are going to publish videos, then that's going to be confusing, because if someone new subscribes for my wife's reclaiming motherhood stuff, and then they get like a family video that has nothing to do with reclaiming motherhood, they're going to be confused, and that's going to be a negative signal. So that's what we're trying to figure out. So I think for us, well, we'll figure it out. But for you, if it's already died and you want to go a different direction, that's fine. Just the audience who wants to go with you will go with you. The rest can unsubscribe. Reyes the Entrepreneur, thank you for the super chat, man. I have problems thinking of good titles and thumbnails. Any advice? I would advise that you do some studying and learn, there's a whole industry around headlines, writing headlines. And it's not just YouTube videos, it's podcasts, it's magazines, it's newspapers, it's blogging. There's a lot out there about writing good headlines. And so just do some Google searches about that, and you'll learn a lot about the psychology behind what is happening behind a good headline. What is it making the viewer think or feel or expect? And so do some research there. Same with thumbnails. I mean, there's a lot of that in magazines and billboards and stuff like this. A lot of these are principles that are already existed in other platforms, and YouTube is a new expression of it. But the principles themselves already exist out there. So I just do some Google searches and you'll find out a lot. Dear Julie, another member, thank you. So I should put end screen or card at the place I seem to lose the audience. So should I put an end screen? Not necessarily. Like if it's kind of abruptly the middle of the video, you can't put an end screen there. You can only put end screens on the end of your videos. You could put an interactive card there, or 5 seconds before that, and see what happens. But the bigger question in my mind, though, isn't like, hey, how do we capture this viewer before they leave? The more important question to me is, how do we hold this person's attention better? What do I need to learn here in order to better tell a better story or captivate their attention, or maybe this needs to go a little more quickly than it is, or something like that? I think that's probably the more important question to ask. Popcorn versus candy. I noticed that my retention is about a third watch time on my videos. I would love to know how to get folks to stay through my videos end. Yeah. So I did the storytelling one. I wish I still had a list of just my podcast episodes. Let me see here. Podcast episodes. I did a few interviews with people that we walked through that, and it was, let me see here. Let me look them up. So I did one with a guy named Joshua Gott, where he talks us through how to tell a better story. And let's see if I can find it here. If you scroll back, you'll find it. I'm here too. But yeah, there's let me just search the page. Maybe that'll help. Okay, that's episode 146, How to Structure an Engaging Story for Your Next Video, featuring Josh Gott. And then there's another one I did with Jeff Barch, who is a television video TV editor in Hollywood, and the Hollywood Secrets to Crafting Engaging Stories from Hollywood. That would be a good episode to watch too. That's episode 145. Yeah, and then I think another one, the one right before that, 144, is also good. How Sierra Education inspires viewers for maximum impact. We get a little bit into that stuff as well. So that's where I would start. Popcorn with candy is storytelling. And I even have a video in the front of my channel. There's a whole playlist actually about how to tell better stories and how to engage people with your content. And watch that playlist. It's not every video I have on storytelling, but it is I think the best ones. And there's one video that recommends more resources that if you want to get into that. Senna's awesome. Should I increase my niche in the future as the channel grows? You can. It's hard to get a lot of momentum in the beginning if you have a really broad audience, but as the channel grows and gets momentum, you can maybe broaden. So for example, here at this channel, I've been talking a long time to YouTube creators who have a mission behind what they're doing on YouTube and want to turn that into a business. Now, I could pivot. I'm not saying I'm going to. I'm just giving this as an example, although I might end up doing it one day. But I could, really what I'm all about, as you guys know, is about reaching people and changing their lives. So if I did a video series that really had nothing about how to grow and how to get more views on YouTube and how to get more subscribers, but I did a series on how YouTube can reach people and change their lives, that would make sense, right? It would be a little bit of a pivot for me, but no one would be totally confused. It would be a little bit broader of an audience. What if I even went a little bit broader at that point is how we can use our creative endeavors to reach people. And now I was talking to podcasters and bloggers and Instagrammers and people in general who are building audiences online. That could work. It's a little bit, but it's hard to start there. It's better to make it really specific and then broaden over time as it makes sense. Jackie, of all things domestic, should I redo old thumbnails for a consistent brand? You could. I wouldn't do it necessarily for a consistent brand. I would do it more so for the sake of hey, this video, everyone asked me about this question. Why am I not getting more views on this? This actually happened to me a few weeks ago. Maybe you guys remember a video I published that was called How Often Should You Upload, from a YouTube employee. And so I posted that, got good traction with you guys, but I think it did like 10,000 views in the first few days or something. And then it just kind of died. And I'm like, man, everyone asked me about this question. What? And so then actually the guy I interviewed at YouTube emailed me and he was like, hey, the YouTube employee thing truncates. You can't see that. Maybe you should consider changing the title so that the YouTube employee doesn't get cut off. And I was like, yeah, but like I had a hard time making a really punchy title that was any shorter than that. So we updated the thumbnail instead and just put YouTube employee with an arrow on it pointing at the YouTube employee in the thumbnail. And then over the next few days, it went to 30,000 and then 50,000. I think it's closing on 60,000 views now, where it was dead in the water for like 2 weeks. And we changed the thumbnail and immediately it started performing better. So updating thumbnails on content that you know is solid, that you know is good, that you feel like should be doing better than it is, that can be a good strategy to kind of breathe life into some of those videos again. For food's sake, ASMR. How do I increase watch time and hold attention in a video with zero talking? I use some text, but how can I tell a story? Oh, that's a good question. I haven't done that without audio before and without talking. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is doing it visually. Like my kids watch a lot of, like my little kids, like my 2-year-old, she doesn't understand English. She doesn't watch shows with talking, but she can see that there's a story unfolding just because there's a lot of visuals happening. ASMR, I know, is a little bit different of a, although for food's sake, I'm guessing that's an interesting combo between food and ASMR. I'm not sure, but maybe there's a story and the expression on your face, the food that you're eating, and the way that you're eating it. You know, maybe you can communicate some things that way. 7 Libby, Starborn Messenger. I think my biggest question is when to branch out into multiple channels, even if they tie together. You should branch into a separate channel if you have a different value proposition, so a different value of what you propose to deliver to the audience for a different audience. And when one of those two things changes, then that's when I think you need a second channel. And usually it's when both of them change. Like if only one, like it's still the same topic, but you're broadening the audience, okay, you can keep that on the same channel. If it is a different audience though, and maybe it's the same value, or maybe if it's a different value though for the same audience, then I would separate that into a different channel as well, because people are subscribing for a specific value. So like even though like this channel, you guys, like, would it be a little bit weird if I started publishing my family's videos here to Video Creators channel? I think a lot of you guys would be like, what the heck? Like, what are you doing? Why is this here, right? It's not what I subscribe for. Because you might be my target audience in the sense of like, you know who Tim Schmoyer is, but you don't care about that content, right? Like you are just like, you know, you're here for a different value than what that video provides. And so like when the value changes and the target audience change especially, that's when I think you need a second channel. Karma Pulse, if I want to switch my channel topic, better to make a new channel. If not, hide old videos. I would just keep them. I mean, you can hide them, but it doesn't really matter. You can just, you can make them unlisted if you wanted to, but if it was me, I would just let them go and just pivot and communicate that, kind of like we talked about already. Vapor Trails, Gary Vee said, when someone's content is all about getting people into a sales funnel, they know it and tune out. How do you fight that and still make sales? Yeah, if it's all, I don't know that if someone feels like it's all about getting people sales funnel, they tune out. I think what he's ultimately saying is if people feel like there's no value here, that's when they tune out. If people are getting good value, like here, I'm giving you value. In the very beginning, I told you could pay $9.99 a month and become a channel member and submit your audio questions. And I've talked in the past about video labs here, and I've talked about ways you can make transactions. I think I even mentioned, maybe I haven't, but you can do like schedule a one-on-one. I'm doing it right now even. I'm just talking about it. You can schedule a one-on-one hour consultation with me or someone on my team to sit down with you and really work through your channel and help you take it to the next level. I talk about sales, but in the midst of talking about value and giving you value. So, I mean, I've been watching the analytics for this live stream right here, and the viewership has gone up since we started streaming. There's more and more people coming in, even though I've talked several times, I've mentioned several times about ways you can make transactions. So I think it's what Gary's probably saying is when people start feeling like this is all about trying to extract value from me rather than trying to give value to me, I think he's right. That's when that's when tune out. But you can still make sales, and our company does it, and a lot of businesses do it by integrating the sale with the value. So people are getting what they want and then finding out, how can I get more of what I want in a format I'm willing to pay for? Silver Fox Forest, when you're kind of an introvert, should you still be when you're kind of an introvert, should you still be you or not be yourself to draw in people? Be you. I mean, unless it's like an acting channel or it's like a skit channel, but if it's just like a personal brand, like just be you and don't think you need to be someone else to draw people in. It's just what draws people in is when they can see that you are authentically you. And I think, like, including myself, like I can turn myself up a notch or two when I'm on a stage giving a presentation, or when I am doing a live stream here or shooting a video or working in a consultation. Like, I can turn myself up a few notches, and I have what my family refers to lovingly, of course, as my video voice. And, but I don't talk with this type of speed and energy, and maybe you don't think I have a lot of energy right now, but like when you're on camera, like you need to, when I turn it up a few notches, I think that's what people kind of expect is normal. But, so you can do that, but it's not like I'm not being myself. Like, I'm still myself. I just have to keep talking uninterrupted for now 44 minutes straight in order to kind of keep this going and keep it. Yeah, you understand it. So, I would not try to be someone else, though. That sounds exhausting and ultimately fruitless. Brian's Lawn Maintenance. Thank you for the $20 super chat, man. Hey, Tim, lunch on us. Thanks for all you do. See, like, you don't even have to sell. Thank you, Brian. Like, when you're just trying to deliver value, sometimes people just appreciate that, like Brian, and they're like, you're not even asking for this, Tim, but here's $20 on us. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So yes, you can still deliver value and sell / have people just donate and support you like Brian is while you're doing a video. I would love, if you guys want to dive into a 1 hour session, feel free to go to videocreators.com/consulting, or just go to videocreators.com and click on consulting at the top, and you can just schedule, get right on our schedule at that point, and find whether with me or with a strategist on my team. It tends to be, some people have questions about that, like, hey, when do I work with you? When do I work with a strategist? You work with me if you've got like a sizable channel and you want to talk about the business development side of it. You work with someone on my team, like, you're going to get the same thing you're going to get from me if you work with them, and it's a lot cheaper. If you want to talk like how to get more views and subscribers, start getting traction on this channel, they're amazing. They're excellent. They've reproduced this process in my system for people and gotten tons of great results for people. You can see more about that there. But go to YouTube or videocreators.com/consulting to book a session with one of us, and we would love to spend an hour with you and diving into this, guys. So thank you for being a part of what I feel is like an amazing video creators community. I love seeing all your comments here flying by on the chat and all the questions I wish I had time to get to, and really diving into what you guys are working on. And ifundchris.com. Yes, you can do a channel review if you're signed up at that level as a channel member, and we'll add you to the queue and get around to it. So thank you for being a member, man. Appreciate that. And I'll see all of you guys next week for another Video Creators podcast episode. See you guys then.